Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to talk about virtual private cloud in AWS. So, VPC is a virtual network dedicated to your AWS account. It is isolated from any other network present in our AWS cloud. The question arises is, why do we need VPC? So, there are many reasons for that. First of all, if you want to create a custom network architecture, you need a virtual private cloud. Second, here you can allow what type of traffic you want and what type of traffic you want to deny. Next, whenever you create any virtual private cloud, you specify a range of IP addresses. So the CIDR method is a use for allocating the IP addresses. It stands for classless inter-domain routing. Let us understand with the help of an example. Suppose that I have a CDR block of this. Now the /16 is called as network portion. We know that IPv4 address is of 32 bits long. So when you subtract 32 bits minus the network portion, the remaining one is called as host portion. Now, if you want to calculate the total number of IP address allocated to you, what you have to do? You have to raise 2 raised to the power 16. So when you do 2 raised to the power 16, so this is the total number of IP address when you get in this CIDR block. Next, we have usual IP addresses. In any cloud services or even AWS, there are 5 IPs are reserved. One is for network address, another one is for broadcast address, and 3 is for AWS internal purpose. So the usual IP address which we can use is total IP address minus 5, which is 65,531. Now, if you want to visualize this CIDR thing, you can use a website called as CIDR.xyz. So here you can specify your range. So in my case, it is 10.0.0/16. So it means there is 65,536 IPs are there total. The first usual IP is this and the last usual IP is this. So this is how you visualize it. Now let us do a demo. First of all, you have to go to AWS console. Then you have to search for VPC. In the VPC, you have to click on VPC here. Here you can see that there is a default virtual private cloud present in the system. Now you want to create a custom VPC. So you click on create. Next you have to specify the name. So let me make it as test VPC. After that you have to provide a CIDR block. So here I am providing it as 10.0.0/16. Once it is done, click on create VPC. Now we have seen that how to create a virtual private cloud. Let us understand what is a subnet and availability zone. So a subnet is a segmented part of a larger network with a specific IP address range. So as we know that VPC contain 65,536 IP. Now if we allocate some of the IP to a particular subnet. So this is the segmented part of the larger network. Now there are 2 types of subnet available to us. One is public subnet and another one is private subnet. So let us understand what is a public subnet. A public subnet where internet is connected, and a private subnet is only accessible through the VPC. Now, let us understand with the help of an example. Suppose that you are deploying an application. So the front-end part of the application will be accessible from internet. So the front-end part is deployed on public subnet. But your back-end part will be only accessible through a VPC. So it is deployed on the private subnet. Now if the difference is clear, let us go to the next slide. So what happens when we create the subnet? As we know that when we create a VPC, we have to allocate the range of IP addresses. Similarly, when you create the subnet, you have to specify range of the IP addresses. Next, we have availability zone. So availability zone is a physical separate zone within an AWS region. Now let us understand it through a diagram. First of all, we have a virtual private cloud. Inside the virtual private cloud, there can be 200 subnets. In the subnets, there can be availability zones. So inside that availability zone, your instances will be deployed. Suppose that due to some natural disaster, this region goes down, 1A region goes down. So what happened? Our data is copied into the second region. So if this region 1A goes down, 1B will be up and our data will be secure. So that's why we need the availability zone. Now let's go to the demo part. First of all, you have to go to subnet. Click on create subnet. Select your VPC. So as you can see that we have created test VPC. Then the subnet name. So I am making the name as test VPC 01. Next, it is asking availability zone, like in which region you want to deploy. So let us say I want to deploy in 1A. Next, it will ask you the CIDR block. So we have 10.0.0/16 and then we have 10.0.0/24. So here you can see it is allocating 256 IP to this subnet. After that, you can add one more subnet. So let me create another subnet which is called as test VPC 02. Now here the availability zone I am selecting is 1B. Then you have to specify your CIDR range. So I am specifying here 10.0.3.0/24. So I have created two subnets in two different availability zone. Once it is done, you have to click on create subnet. So this is how you create a subnet. Now we have created a subnet. Now in order to make it publicly accessible, what we have to do, we have to connect it through an internet gateway. So here, go to internet gateway, click on create internet gateway, give it a name. So let us say test VPC internet gateway IZ. Now click on create internet gateway. Now it is asking attach it to a VPC. So you have to select it. Select a VPC which is test VPC. Now here click on attach internet gateway. So it is important in order to make this subnet publicly available. So the two subnets that we have created, these are called as public subnets. Once this thing is done, next let us understand what is a route table. A route table is basically a set of rules that are used to determine where the network traffic from your subnet will be directed. So each subnet in your VPC must be associated with the route table. So let us see the demo. First of all, you have to go to the route table. Click on create route table. Give the route table a name. So I am giving name as test VPC route. Next, you have to specify your VPC here. So our VPC is test VPC. Click on create route table. Once this thing is done, what you have to do, you have to associate the subnets that you have created. So click on subnet association. Click on edit subnet association. Select both of them. Now click on save association. Once this thing is done, what you have to do, you have to edit the routes. So click on edit routes. Select one more route here. So I am selecting here anywhere and the target is internet gateway. Select the internet gateway that you have created. Now you have to click on save changes. So this is how you associate the subnets and edit the route in the virtual private cloud.